I'm Bishop.
And I'm Dr. Steph.
Thank you so much for joining us again right here on Our Life, Our Journey,
Our Truth.
We're so excited every week to have you connected to this YouTube channel, and we appreciate you and do not take it for granted. We thank you so much for connecting with us, and we want to encourage you to make sure you continue to comment because we are reading them and they are blessing us to hear from you. So many of you are sharing this, and hope you will comment, hope you will share, but most of all, we want you to subscribe right here to this channel. It means a lot to us, and hey, we want to stay connected. We're building a community here. It's important to us, and we want to make sure you follow this one right here. Follow her, Dr. Steph Walker right here. Follow me at Joseph Walker 3. That means a lot to us. Listen, we're also geeked to tell you we got an amazing conference coming up, and it's happening. It's happening in the month of April, and we want you to meet us in Nashville. Many of you have been saying, man, when y'all gonna bring something together? Well, it's our year 2 of becoming a couple of destiny.
People have been asking about it.
It's gonna be at the Renaissance Hotel right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Here's the information right here. We just want you to make sure you go there, get your room, and start registering. It's gonna be awesome. We want to see you and yours there. It's gonna be bananas. We got people coming in from Atlanta, from DC.
Yep. Last year we had people coming from out of the country.
Wasn't that crazy?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So we want to make sure you are part of this. So we're excited about it. So today, we're going to talk about something we're very passionate about. We know we just came out this wonderful series, and today we just want to wrap a bow around it because it is so incredibly important. And we think about, not apologizing for your standards.
Yes.
Excellence or nothing.
Excellence or nothing, right.
And when we think about that, and I know you and I talk about this all the time. In life, in business, in relationships, this is all encompassing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people don't understand the value of having standards that are above average. Sometimes we can be so acclimated to doing a thing in a certain space of average that it becomes normalized. And when someone shows up and says, no, average is not good enough, and you're pushing people to a place that's higher, you often are critiqued or you're seen as being, a taskmaster, when in fact, there are levels to this. And what we're trying to tell you is that if you will raise your standard to a space of excellence, then you are no longer in a space where you tolerate anything other than that, and you don't become apologetic for it.
And you become used to that, right? Like I was once told by someone, it was quite comical, like, you're different. Like, you're not like everybody else. Like, you have these different expectations. And in their mind, I think that they weren't saying it in a complimentary way, but you just think, like, for me, that's exactly the point, right? Like, yes, I am different. I do have expectations. My expectation is that you will rise to the level of the expectation. Yeah. When the tide rises, guess what? All the ships sail. Right? And so when you are, around people, around a cohort, it's okay for you to stand out. It's okay for you to be different. It's okay for your expectations to be different, because by you having certain expectations, by default, the people around you will get better.
And sometimes I think what we have to do is we have to kind of get beyond this idea of assimilating ourselves, into spaces that...
To make you feel comfortable or to make others, more importantly, to make other people feel comfortable.
Yes.
Right? Because that's what ends up coming out. What ends up coming out is when you have certain levels of expectation, or you carry yourself a certain way, or you live your life a certain way, sometimes others will feel uncomfortable and they don't even oftentimes know why, but it's bringing out their insecurities. And they're looking at you like, why are you making me feel this way? What do you need to do about checking yourself to understand why you feel this way when I walk in the room, why you feel this way when I come around, why you feel this way when I say, oh, no, I don't want to settle for a B, I need to get an A, or I'm not going to settle for average, I need to be above and beyond.
Yeah, so maybe, don't, assimilate to make others comfortable. I think that's important. And we're saying that because you're living your life for their opinions, you're living your life, for their level of comfortability and then their standards, and therefore you've compromised on what you should do because you're more interested in being in the in crowd versus being an outlier, as
Right.
Malcolm Gladwell says, being that person that's out there doing extraordinary things, and you're really okay with that.
Well, and we're not ignorant of the fact that in this generation, in the world that we live in, people live and die for likes.
Oh my God.
Right? And so we're constantly trying to seek the approval, the likes, the claps, the applause of other people. And so when you're not getting that, sometimes you feel like there's something wrong with you.
Right.
And the reality is sometimes not getting that frequently means that you are actually on the right path, doing the right thing, because you are that outlier. You are that person that's different. You are that person that is seeking to do better than the average. And sometimes people will not applaud that.
That's right.
And guess what? It's okay.
Yeah.
You're on the right path. You're doing the right thing.
One of the things that I believe is important, and I think it's something we have to deal with, is that excellence is really a matter of exposure.
Yes, it can be, for sure.
And what I mean by that is, for example, I've done this with our staff. I've done it with folks around the country. I say, I'll give an assignment. I'll say, bring me, a glass of water. And then I'll give an example to all the people around the table. Somebody will bring me, a glass of water. Someone else will bring me, they'll pour the water in the glass and bring a napkin. Someone else will bring a peppermint with it. Someone else, because it's based upon their understanding of what excellence is. Do I go this extra mile? Do I do this? And so that's what separates, I think, certain restaurants from other restaurants, certain businesses from other businesses. So when you are exposed to certain hotels, for example, when you're exposed to a certain level of what excellence is, that's what separates a 3 to a 5-star to a 7-star. So let's say you're operating in this 7-star mindset, and let's say you're employing someone to do something for you who has not had that level of exposure, and you're trying to articulate what that is.
Or more commonly, you get frustrated
That's the point,
because they're not operating at the level of your expectation, but you haven't had the conversation to understand what their definition of excellence is.
Which means you have to articulate and train people around excellence. You have to, because if you do not, then people will never rise to the level of your expectations. They'll literally fall to the level of their systems, and the systems that they are operating in may be tied to the exposures that they've had. This is the best I can do. This is the best I can do. Why is it never good enough? I feel like it's never good because you haven't had any exposure. You don't even realize that if I go to a hotel and someone comes outside and they bring out the dolly and takes my luggage and just leaves it at the door, or someone else at another hotel literally takes it, gives me a ticket, another guy says, I'm going upstairs and take it, brings me ice, brings me all these other things. It's different levels. And so it's how I understand that. And so it's the intentionality of helping people really understand that, spending time to train and to talk to people. When I use the word train, I mean that respectfully. I mean having a conversation with people who you're in relationship with, business-wise, to say, look, here's what I mean
when I say Z. Because a lot of the miscommunication or a lot of the frustration comes with miscommunication or misunderstanding in terms of what my definition of something is versus what your definition of something is. And I think it works both ways, right? So knowing this, knowing that you are sort of the eagle, knowing that you are sort of the black sheep, knowing that you are the outlier, right? When we look at, other people or another group, you might think, what's wrong with them? Right? But guess what? There's nothing wrong with them because they're average. They're regular, everyday people doing regular, everyday things. You're the one that has the problem because your expectations are greater than other people's. But it's okay to be that person. And I think that's what it works. The reason I'm saying it works both ways is because you have to give people the grace and the space to be who they are.
There it is.
And if that's the world that they wish to operate in, guess what? That's okay.
Totally
I think exposing people, helping people understand where you live, where you operate, and not live as in physically live, but live in terms of where you live, in terms of your mindset or what have you, and how you operate. And if they want to come along for the ride, great. But if they don't want to come along for the ride, guess what? That's okay. Your goal, your job in terms of trying to reach your goal, your destination, your purpose is to find like-minded people, or people who are trainable in the sense that want to learn, want to get better, want to do better, want to go to that next level of excellence. And it's no harm, no foul. And I think it's about, giving people grace and not being judgmental, right?
Yeah. So I want to drop something, all right? I want to drop something, put it right here in bold for you. Better doesn't mean you're bougie. The world in which we live loves to say, "Oh, you just bougie. Oh, you just up in there. You think you're better than everybody else." And so you start believing that, and what happens? You start saying, "Well, maybe
my standards are a little, too strict.
I'm being
or maybe they're too,
because because you actually want to be with someone who has a job, or because you want to be with someone who's going to love and value you, or has a relationship with God. Oh, you're just asking too much. You're too bougie. And so what happens? You start making compromises on that. But you've got to live with that person, or you've got to live in that space. And it's important that you go hard after better every single day, and not allow people to put that tag on you like you're bougie, because because you really work hard and you have standards that say, I deserve better. My God has promised me better, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I feel like sometimes we as Christians can often attack each other the worst, right? We're supposed to be Christians and loving and, forgiving or what have you. But the moment that we see someone doing better or being different, we want to go on attack. But the reality is, God didn't put me on this earth to be average. God didn't put me on this earth to be regular. God didn't put me or you and put all these gifts inside of us for us to lay on our gifts and do nothing with them. What are you doing with your gifts in this season? What are you doing with these gifts in order to pursue your purpose? He could have easily have given those gifts to somebody else who's going to run with them. Somebody is laying up somewhere trying to figure out what they're good at, and you have all these gifts in you and could possibly be doing nothing with it. That is not an option. And this year, in this season, you have to go get it. You have to go after it. And sometimes you might not even know what that go after what is, but it's about getting inside, getting deep, and talking to God. Like, Lord, I can, I'm good at this, this, and this. Like, how can you, Lord, use me in this season? Give me the spirit of discernment to understand, where do you want me to go? How do you want me to get there? Who do you want me to take with me? Like, how are we going to go on this journey? Help me find people of excellence who I can go on this journey with.
And that's the key, right?
Yeah.
It's when you connect with people in any capacity, professionally, relationally, you have to begin to think, like the Bible says, Amos 3:3, how can two walk together unless they agree?
And when he says relationally, it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship.
Right.
It can also refer to just your friend group. The reality is we're all made up of the closest 5 people that we hang out with. So if you're hanging around with a lot of average people, guess what you're going to be? Average. Right? Because there's no one speaking in your ear, challenging you, pushing you towards greatness, right? If you want to be great, hang around great people. Hang around people who are doing better. Hang around people who have lofty expectations, big, hairy, audacious goals for themselves, because when you will be inspired by what other people are doing, and everybody is pushing each other and checking each other and making sure that each other is moving towards that place of excellence.
Yeah, and I think you have to be very clear as you walk into spaces, right? That people will look at you that way. And when you are surrounded by extraordinary people who push you, you can never be intimidated by excellence.
Yes.
You have to gravitate toward excellence.
Yeah.
You have to allow yourself to be in the ecosystem of excellence.
That milieu, yeah.
And when you get in that space,
Yeah.
it just becomes contagious. Your language and how you move and how you think, it's at a different level. And when you get that level of exposure, here's the responsibility you have. You get in these spaces, you're exposed, and you realize, I'm in a very small percentile of people that have access to this particular space. You now have a responsibility to go back into those other spaces and challenge others to come up to that space. And you have to do it, as she said, not with judgment, but do it with empathy and compassion. But you cannot, under any circumstances, allow yourself to revert back and assimilate back into what you just left. God would never open these doors up for you.
For you to go backwards.
For you to go backwards. It is never intended for that. He does not bring you out of Egypt and give you a glimpse of the promised land for you to say, oh, it's milk and honey over there, but I'm just going to go right on back over here to Pharaoh and keep, it's not going to do that.
I strongly believe that the moment that he gives you exposure, the moment that he puts it in your spirit, that means that it's meant for you. And it's up to you to figure out how to go get it, how to get after it. Who do you need to go? Who do you need to be talking to? Who do you need to mentor you to go on these journeys? And I agree with you 100% in terms of your responsibility of mentoring. If you can get there, that means that you can guide others there. And if you don't, then in my opinion, I'm saying that to myself too. We have failed in some way, shape, or form. God doesn't just open up a door for you. He opens up a door for you so that you can turn around and do the same thing. And we call it lifting as we climb. And it's so fundamentally important to do that.
Listen, you may be the first one in that door, but you should never be the last one. That's the responsibility we have. We talk about raising our standards and never compromising, never negotiating them, and certainly never apologizing for them. We're talking about coming to a place in your spirit and your mind that you operate at such an altitude that you demand greatness around you. Even to the degree that you recognize that every relationship that you connect with is actually pulled toward that algorithm in you, that they now feel the pull and compulsion to say, I must do better myself. When you walk in the room, people should say, man, I want to be better like that. It doesn't mean that you're bougie. It means that you have raised the standard. Excellence in nothing is something that we're very passionate about. We want people, we hire people because they're excellent, not because they're our friends.
We learned that lesson a long time ago.
What? Because they are excellent. We engage in certain business relationships because you're excellent, right? I want excellence around me. Sometimes we will sacrifice excellence for loyalty, for family, for friends, but you really want to make certain that you can do this without compromise. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why we do what we do. Because we're trying to challenge you and help you recognize what God has for your life. Listen to me. If God gives you exposure to something, that's vision. And God never gives you a vision without that thing coming to pass in your life. It is for an appointed time. It will speak and not lie. So if God is showing it to you, ask yourself, God, why did you show me this? He's showing you what's possible.
Wow,
That's the blessing, right?
I agree.
So I'm thankful for you today. We are thankful, and we hope that you continuously strive for greater things in your life. We believe this is going to be an amazing year for you. And we are up here in the excellence range. We're up here navigating at a level of excellence, and we want you to do it with us as well. And we thank you so much. Let us know what you think about this episode. Put in the comments section your thoughts, maybe some of your questions. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions on this.
More than willing to answer them for you.
And we are. And we appreciate you so much. And thank you for being connected today. Make sure you like, subscribe. Make sure you follow this woman here. Follow me. We want to stay connected. And we thank you so much for tuning into this episode. We hope it's blessed you, and we hope you're challenged to keep moving forward and not apologize for your standard. We'll say it loud for the people in the back.
For the people in the back.
Excellence or nothing.
Or nothing.
I'm Bishop.
I'm Dr. Steph.
Until next time, peace out.